A traveler sits down on a riverbank. His feet hurt. The night is dark. His head pounds. He has a decision to make. He dips his fingers into the water. He shivers. Cold, he says. Rude, the river says. How, the traveler says. Typical, the river says, inserting yourself into situations, causing disruptions, confused when there's a response. How deeply human of you. I would know your character without your skin. You know nothing about me, the traveler says. I know everything about you, the river says. I know humans. I have watched them. I've seen them. I've seen them build things and burn them down and kill each other and betray each other. I've seen brothers stab each other in the back. The blade still sits at the bottom of me. I know humans. Sloppy, dirty humans. You don't know me, the traveler says. I could be clean. I could be powerful. I could be royalty. Kings and beggars piss the same, the river says. The traveler resisted the urge to remove his hand. The river felt him flinch. Piss is hardly the worst thing in my waters, I can assure you. What is the worst thing? The river flowed quietly for a moment, thinking. I have the wedding ring of a woman who strayed from her marriage. A precious ring hardly seems like a bad thing to have, the traveler says. It's still on her finger. There's a finger in you, the traveler says. Yes, the river says. Lead with that next time, the traveler says. I have other things, the river says, such as, I have the treasure of a clumsy thief, I have glass, I have broken swords, I have left shoes, I have a half-finished manuscript of an almost brilliant writer, I have a little gold chariot. Why do you have a little gold chariot? The traveler asks. The birthday present of a spoiled prince. He threw it in me to cause a fuss. And did it? Did it what? Cause a fuss. Oh yes, the king had the crafter's hands cut off. I still have the bones somewhere, I think. Delightful, the traveler says. Quite, the river says. May I continue? Please do, the traveler says. I have love notes and confessions and bottles, wooden dice and a violin bow, a wedding veil, a daisy crown, math homework, the teddy bear of a slave's daughter, and all the tears she shed when she dropped it, the head of the true king, and stones, lots of stones. There's a lot in you, the traveler says. Yes, the river says. What's in you? I'm made of bones. And? Blood and tissue and other things, the traveler says. Other things like what? I don't know, the traveler says. Cells and organs. I don't have any organs in me, the river says. I'm rather glad about that, the traveler says. Why are you here? The river says. I'm traveling, the traveler says. Me too, the river says. I'm always traveling. But you're sitting here, on this bank, in this spot. Why are you here? It looked like a quiet place, the traveler says. You like the quiet, don't you? The traveler says. Sometimes, the river says, but I also like to roar and sing, and the frogs and I harmonize on Thursdays. I'm not good at roaring, the traveler says. I'm better at quiet. Quiet is easier. You don't sing, the river says. No, I don't sing. People will laugh. That's the only noise humans make that I actually like, the river says. They will laugh at me, the traveler says. Singing is wonderful, the river says. I can't sing, the traveler says. But you like to sing, the river says. You aren't listening, the traveler says. You aren't listening, the river says. I listen to everything, the traveler says. I listened when they announced the war. I listened to the gunfire and the sounds of braver men dying. I listened to the victory bells. I listened for the change they promised us. That sound never came. I listened when my father screamed and my mother sang, and when the principal struck my palms. I couldn't do his sums, but I was listening in class. I was. I listened to my sister's squabble. I listened to the most beautiful woman in the world stack books at a library. I traveled to every land and I listened to every language. I listened and I listen. I listen. I'm good at listening. All I do is listen. I listen and I listen and I listen. I'm not good at all the other things. Like the singing, says the river. Like the singing, says the traveler. The river hummed and the traveler began taking off his shirt. What are you doing? The river says. The traveler took off his shoes. What are you doing? The river says. The traveler took off his pants. I'm too cold to swim in tonight, the river says. I know, the traveler says. Don't, the river says. Don't, I don't want you. Neither do I, the traveler sobs. The traveler steps off the bank and icy water engulfs him. The water is dirty and freezing, and something somewhat finger-shaped sticks out the bottom of the bank, but it's quiet. It's blessedly quiet. There's nothing to listen to. He stays under. A few minutes passed. The river did something then. Something it had never done before. Something it had never dreamed of doing. The water began to rush and surge. The traveler felt his body moving without his permission. "Stop," says the traveler. The water pushed at him, swirling this way and that. The traveler fought to stay down. "Stop," says the traveler. The water yanked at him, pulled at him, trying to force him back up. "Let me stay here," says the traveler, his lungs burning, consciousness slipping. The river surged again, angry water tugging at his body. "Stop!" roared the traveler. The water gathered its strength, and with a mighty wave, the traveler was forced back up onto the bank, coughing and spluttering and cursing harder than any person ever had at a body of water. The water's calmed. "So you can roar," the river says. "Only underwater," the traveler coughs. "Good," the river says. "Then you will practice underwater." "What?" the traveler says. "Every day. You will practice here, underwater, until you can." "I made the decision," the traveler says. "I was ready. I wanted to." "I know," the river says. "But practice first. Practice not listening underwater first. If it doesn't work, then I'll take you in." "Okay," sobs the traveler. "Okay," says the river. The traveler practiced. It was awkward at first, but he got used to it. Every day he would come to the river, dunk his head in and scream, or make small talk, or confessions. He raged at his father and gave sermons on politics and whispered sweet nothings to a librarian. And he talked, and he talked, and he sang. It was hard, and when he wasn't doing it right, the river would knock a pebble into his head until he was giving everything in him, every word, every thought, until his entire body shook with the effort, until his throat hurt, and he had a searing case of brain freeze. Every night, his exhausted body and spirit crashed into bed with soaking wet hair. He threw his life into the river over and over and over again. He began to smell a bit like river water, and the frogs gossiped about him. But slowly, achingly, his soul stirred from its hiding place, stretching out after years of painful crouching, breathing, sighing, going quiet, not because it was shy, because it felt satisfied, listened to. It hadn't for a long time. The traveler returned to the river 6 years later. A librarian was at his side with a toddler on her hip. She wandered further down the bank to show the chattering child the small frog family sitting on some stones. The traveler sat and placed his hand in the water. "You're warmer," the traveler says. "You're older," the river says. "I sing now," the traveler says. "I know," the river says. "I'm never in tune. People laugh," the traveler says. "But you like to sing," the river says. "I love to sing," the traveler says. "I missed you," the river says. "How deeply human of you," the traveler says. "How dare you," the river says. "Thank you," the traveler says. "Thank you for sparing me when I thought there was nothing, and for making me fight. Thank you." "I should have realized sooner, but I felt it when you jumped in," the river says. "Felt what?" the traveler says. "There's a lot in you," the river says.